More now on our top story. As we've been reporting, the convicted killer, Chris Dawson, has been transported to Silverwater Prison in Sydney after being charged with murdering his wife, Lynette, 40 years ago. Joining us live now is the 2GB radio host, Ben Fordham, who was in court yesterday for the verdict. Ben, good to see you. Thanks for your time. I saw you there in the background alongside Lynette's family at their news conference outside court after that verdict was delivered yesterday. They seemed a bit shell-shocked then. Do you think the conviction has sunk in now?
Yeah, I spoke to some of them this morning and they said the morning after it tends to hit you where you really realise, hang on, that was no dream yesterday, that actually happened. But Ash, can you imagine 40 years of thinking, where is Lynn, what happened to Lynn? And then a few years after the disappearance of Lynn, when they started to get a sense of what they think happened to Lynn, and then those suspicions, and then the rumours, and then the lack of answers, and the police not really caring too much in the 1980s, and then thankfully some other police officers came along the way. And I've got to say, the former Police Commissioner in New South Wales, Mick Fuller, he deserves a lot of praise today because I approached Mick Fuller a few years ago and said, look, my friend Hedley Thomas from The Australian has got this phenomenal podcast. By that stage, it was already getting a lot of interest in Australia. And I really encouraged Mick to sit down with Hedley and say, look, you guys need to work together, and I'm so glad that they did. I think Mick Fuller deserves some praise today, as well as the bloke who made all of this happen, Hedley Thomas from the Australian newspaper. Without Hedley, there's no way in the world that Chris Dawson would be sitting in a jail cell right now.
Yeah, so Ben, I understand you arranged that meeting at a lunch, I think it was, between Hedley Thomas and Mick Fuller, and that was before a murder charge was laid against Chris Dawson. I see there was a bit of heat over that, some arguing an abusive process, that it was improper. I'm guessing no regrets, though, about your involvement, considering the outcome yesterday.
No, it's funny, isn't it, Ash? Everyone's got an opinion at the time, and, you know, some people say, oh, if you had your time again, would you do things differently? I would have done it exactly the same if I had my time again. The reason I got involved is because I was across the case. Hedley brought me into it early on and said, look, as a Sydney radio host, this is a Sydney mystery and a Sydney mum. It would be great if you believe in this as much as I do, if you could get involved as well on your 2GB radio show, which I did. But then after a while, after going to a public forum, which was all about the teacher's pet and about Lynn's case, it was really clear that the public was turning on police and saying that police should have done more to try and solve this case. So that's why I thought it's in Mick Fuller's interest that I contact Mick and say, you need to meet with Hedley. And it was in Hedley's interest as well, clearly, because it meant that he then had a line to police within the podcast. But that's where it all started. I actually walked away from the table at that lunch after a little while and let the two of them just talk. And then there was a follow-up meeting without me where Mick Fuller brought in some of his detectives to meet with Hedley, because Hedley was getting fresh information bit by bit. And that was the beauty of the Teacher's Pet podcast. It wasn't something that he made and he produced 20 episodes and then he just released them week by week. He made one episode and then he had to think, all right, what am I going to do for episode 2? And then by episode 3, fresh information was coming through. That information was vital to the police investigation. They needed every little bit of evidence they could possibly get. And that's why I think it's been a great result for New South Wales Police after a period of inaction back in the 1980s. And, I really feel for Lynn's family, but I feel happy for them. I know it's a strange word to be using at a time like this because it doesn't bring Lynn back, but I know they're feeling happy today. They're feeling really happy today.